Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome back to another episode of Lazio Lounge. We are back. I am back. Let's check if Alistair is there or still on holiday. But, we have plenty of things to talk about. Fixture, the transfer market, index of liquidity, Vavros rumors. I mean, we have so many things to talk about. We can go all day long. I don't know if that's fine for you, Alistair. Does it work out with your holidays?
Well, what I want to hear about is this holiday I've been on, that I've been hearing so much about. I mean, it's a bit disappointing, really, to hear that I've already had my summer holiday without having actually been on holiday. So, for the listeners, I've not been on holiday. I just had 2 days off, which apparently counts in Vittorio's eyes. So, I'm just looking forward to when I actually go on holiday in about 10 days. You're not going to hear the end of it from you now, am I?
No, not at all. Especially this year where I don't know if I'm going to on holiday. So it's gonna be a long season, a long summer. Long summer of transfer market as usual, Alistair. Today is the first day that the transfer market window officially opens. And I'm not sure, probably the first time in the last 5-7 years that Lazio made an announcement before the windows officially opens.
Yeah, I guess like early start to the season, mid-season World Cup year is the time to do it if they're ever going to do it. Yeah, I mean, well, we should probably start with what we've got, right? The actual new signings has been Cancellieri. We've had Marcos Antonio. Even though I was just saying before we came on, I'm still like a little bit uncertain about why they haven't just announced Marcos Antonio yet. Why can't they just settle our nerves and just announce it? But yeah, I mean, so that's good. It's a good start, but still, going back to the last podcast we had, the kind of transfer market preview, I said the absolute priorities are centre backs and Vice Immobile, and still no sign of any of those things. So that's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, top priority, right wing, right? That's
Tare's obsessed with wingers. We talked about this quite a lot over the years.
So at the moment we have Felipe Anderson, Pedro, Zaccagni, Raul Moro, Luca Romero, and the new addition, Cancellieri. I don't know. We are playing, what can it be? 6 wingers at a time? No striker, but 4 wingers altogether.
Well, the thing is, Tare couldn't stop signing wingers even when we played in a formation that didn't use wingers. So now that we do, he's going to get even more excited about the opportunities of signing wingers.
Yeah. Well, we sold. He went away. Adekanye left. So that's one winger we lost.
Yeah.
He went to Go Ahead Eagles. We don't know because obviously official announcement from Lazio are prohibited. We don't know if Go Ahead Eagle pay a fee for the player or he just resigned from Lazio and signed with them. We have no idea about that, but he left Lazio. So that's one going away. We know that Lukaku's contract expired. I don't know if he's staying with Vicenza. We know that Drechka, the youngster that last year played in Lega Pro, contract expired. Maestro is close to Spal. But that's pretty much it. We were hoping that Murici and Dennis Vavro would have left Lazio at this point, but they're still here. Rumors are also that Murici could show up at Auronzo.
Well, yeah, I mean, Auronzo starts on Monday. So I guess he has to, doesn't he? I mean, if you're still a member of the squad, then you should be there. But yeah, it is frustrating that the inability to get this backlog of unwanted players off the books is still such an issue, still after this much time. It's felt like the busiest kind of June I can remember in terms of the transfer market generally. I think all the teams, like we were just saying, because of the circumstances of the early start and everything, are in a bit more of a hurry than they usually are to get business done. And so there's been tons of stuff going on. And a lot of leagues obviously are starting even earlier than we are in Italy. So it is a bit frustrating. It doesn't help as well the situation when one of these guys, Dennis Favreau, decides to go live on Twitch and say that he hates Lazio. So,
He's
I
not
mean,
very
was he
smart. Can we say that?
joking? Was it a joke? He was kind of laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's not very smart, and he proved it often. The funny thing about Vavro is he was doing training with the Copenhagen. Copenhagen started the summer training because season there starts earlier than in Italy, and though his contract expired today, he was on loan to Copenhagen, and the last day was yesterday, 30th of June. It's funny that even though Lazio and Copenhagen didn't have an agreement, he was training with them till 2 days ago. That's strange. Obviously, Copenhagen is trying to sign him. Lazio is willing to sell him, but they want 5 million euros. Copenhagen never reached that this offer. So now we have to see what happens. But yeah, I don't think Vavro is going to be called to Alonso after what he said. I think that could be dangerous.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like that's it's not a done deal, but it feels like this is the end for Dennis Favre one way or another. They're going to have to find a way of getting him out, and Lazio haven't had problems previously of freezing players out if it comes to it, and
Yeah.
so I can see that equally happening. But anyway, going back to the actual signings we've made, what was your thoughts on Cancellieri? First of all, on the kind of surprising way it happened very quickly, and then on the player himself as well.
Well, I think this is a sort of favor that Lotito made to his friend Setti. I think closing this operation so fast, very unusual for Lazio. Lazio takes like 1 month to close a deal, a signing. Closing it in like 2 hours, that's very suspicious for me. My impression is that Setti had to close the balance that closes, let's remember, yesterday, 30th of June. And maybe he needed, I don't know, maybe 2 million euros to close the balance sheet in green. And so he was selling Casale to Monza, but Casale said, no, I want to wait for Lazio. And he said he was in trouble, and so called his friend Lotito and say, hey, why don't you sign my player, and then maybe I'll do you a favor. Maybe I'll, don't know, maybe make a discount on Casale and Ilic, that are two players that have been heavily linked with Lazio. And so Lotito did this signing, which I think, apart from that, is a nice signing. He's a youngster, very young, talented player. I mean, if Sassuolo wanted it, this tells you that this should be a very interesting player. I don't know how much he will play because, as we were mentioning before, we have like 180 wingers, so he's going to be 109 in the list. But he's young, he's talented. He scored the first goal last year with Verona. He's very promising, calling the under 21. He's been linked with the first national team, so I think it's a great signing. And we said this, I don't know how many times, that Lazio is one of the oldest roster in Serie A. So getting youngster like Marcos Antonio and Cancellieri is perfect. So yeah, I like the signing, but I would have preferred to sign before Romagnoli and Casale, and then after Cancellieri.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but yeah, I mean, it's I think it could be quite a smart one. Like Cancellieri's not really exploded yet, so you're kind of capable of getting him on this deal, which supposedly what I think 7 million, and then an extra 1.5 or something on in bonuses, and that's not an awful lot of cash in this day and age for a guy of his age, a homegrown player, Italian player. So I think there's the potential there that Lazio have managed to get a player before he explodes who then could explode at the club, which would be ideal. But it's very hard to say at this point because, like you're mentioning, he only scored his first goal for Verona last season. He wasn't playing tons. I think he played like 12 games or something
Yes.
for them, and got one goal. And he's clearly rated. When Mancini in the Nations League games last month, he called him up and he gave him a cap for the senior Italy team. And that doesn't say as much as perhaps people might think it says, because Mancini was handing out caps to absolutely everybody in those games, but it does tell you that he at least rates him as one of the best young Italian players coming through. So it's hard to say. It's really hard to say what kind of impact a player like that can have, because we've seen so little of him in Serie A. We've seen so little of him in the national team, and it's really a gamble. Well, it's really an unknown, like you were saying, how much game time he's going to have. Because I think going into the new season, it's pretty well established that that kind of Pedro, Anderson, Zaccagni trio are going to be sharing most of the game time in the wing positions. So we'll
But
see. But great to have the young players, like you were saying, bringing down the age. That was a real priority. So that's huge.
but Alistair, we have to mention a couple of things. First, Felipe Anderson last season played every single match. I don't think this is going to happen. It's going to be very hard to see Felipe Anderson playing every single match. Pedro is not getting any younger. How many matches will he skip this year? So, we probably needed another winger. The question I have is, does this mean that Raul Moro is going to go? How many will Luca Romero increase his play time, or again he's leaving, he's going on loan maybe in a second team, lower league team or something like that to play more? Because this is a question. Obviously, as you were mentioning at the beginning, we needed a Vision Mobile more than another winger, but I think we need a lot of players pretty much everywhere. So again, I would have preferred Vision Mobile, but I think he's gonna play, especially, and we're gonna talk about the fixture later. But the season starts the 12th of August, beginning in September till half of November. Lazio is gonna play every 3 days, except for the national break. I think half November or beginning of November. From the 1st of September till the 17th of November, Lazio is gonna play every 3 days. So I think turnover will be mandatory this season. So you need to have more players available in every spot of the team, right?
Yeah, and that was already obviously a big problem last season. The lack of that, the lack of quality, certainly, at least in terms of who you're rotating in and out of the team, and they probably learned a little bit that it's all well and good signing players like Moro and Romero, who are kind of coming into the team very young, but they're not really. You can't expect players at age 17, 18 to be ready to be like the valid options coming off the bench or coming into the team. I think it's just a bit too soon. It's nice to throw these guys in from it every now and then to see how they fare, but Cancellieri to me is a more prepared option to do that than Romero was last season, for example. You're getting a guy aged 16 from a different country and a totally different background, playing in Italy for the first time, and then using him as one of your rotation options. And yeah, so I think that's good stuff. Marcos Antonio, I think, is a really, really nice signing. I'm excited about that one. Obviously, haven't watched an absolute load of him, but it is very encouraging to see that pretty much everyone who knows a lot about him or watches a lot of Shakhtar seems to be very positive about him and see this as a really good move for Lazio. And in terms of, again, bringing down the age of the squad and replacing positions we needed replaced, I mean, it does sound like he's not necessarily an out-and-out Lucas Leiva, slightly different player who can play in other roles too, but that will be what he's coming in to do is take that kind of number 6 position, I expect.
Yeah, switching from a 35 years old to a 21 is not bad, huh? Not bad. So that's good. But I mean, Alistair, the biggest surprise, the biggest news is that we have a starting goalkeeper, right?
Where?
I mean, Prakosta's left. Reina is turning 39. Before getting a left back, a right back, and whatever you want, we should need a goalkeeper. 1st of July, we signed Cancellieri. No sign of goalkeeper. This morning, guys, just to give you a little bit of context, Il Tempo is saying that Lazio would sign back Strakosha. I mean,
I was wondering if you'd bring this up.
Obviously, I would. I mean,
I mean, yeah, that I don't see that happening, but I think it tells you a lot about the position that the club's in when think people even start writing stuff like that. Because I mean, I think I said to begin with, I didn't think they should have let him go anyway. But Karnezeki, I mean, come on, this has been just going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and seems to be totally stagnant, basically. Atalanta wanting 18, Lotito not wanting to pay 18.
not surprised.
Yeah, well, so what is your take on that? Do you think that's asking too much for a player who's had like one really good season in Serie B, but otherwise untested?
Well, let's not forget to mention that he's injured, and
Yeah.
rumors are he could be out till January because there's the World Cup break. I don't know why, because nobody cares about the World Cup, but there is this break, and as he should be out 4 or 5 months, this means that starting from today, he should be back when the Serie A starts again in February. So you're paying this player 20 million euros and basically paying half the season. I don't know. Everybody rates him very high.
Yeah,
But 80 million euros?
but it is a long-term investment, isn't it? It's not just for. I mean, this is the kind of problem with it, though, is that it's obviously not just for the season ahead, but we do really need someone to come in and immediately take that position because otherwise we're going to be left with Pepe Reina. And actually, as well, the other danger is if Pepe Reina is your number two. I mean, never mind the kind of his form falling off a cliff last season, but the fact that he is as old as he is, it does probably come with injury problems at that age. Goalkeeping is an incredibly physical thing to be doing, 2 or 3 times a week. And if our number two is Pepe Reina and he picks up a problem or can't play that often, who's the number three then? We're going down into what, Furlaneto or someone from the Primavera, and that's.
Well, it looks like we're going to have a ton of goalkeepers at Auronzo this summer because Furlaneto has been called, Alia is coming back from the loan, Adamonis is still there, Reina. So we have already 4 goalkeepers going to Auronzo, and none of these 4 will be the starting goalkeeper. At least this is what we're hoping. Last week, rumors were that Lazio would have signed a starting goalkeeper and a backup goalkeeper, and Reina would switch a third goalkeeper. I would be astonished if this happened. But in the meanwhile, Alistair, Monza signed Cranio on loan, and Cranio was one of the top-rated goalkeepers this season, right? I never rate him that high, and the fact that he went for cheap to Monza tell me that probably big clubs didn't rate him higher as well. Vicario, another goalkeeper that has been linked to Lazio, is still at Empoli. So I would be interested. I would be happy if Lazio switched, instead of going to Carnesecchi, move to Vicario. Maybe no?
Well, Vicario's good, and obviously, like his one good season has been in Serie A, so that's better. It's more encouraging, I guess. And he was definitely one of the top keepers in Serie A last season. But he's not old for a goalkeeper by any means. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he's 25 or something.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the difference, it's more the cost thing rather than the ability. It's okay. Karnezeki 18 sounds like a lot, but by the sounds of it, Empoli are going to ask for 15 for Vicario, and if it's 3 million between the two of them, but one is 4 years younger and has basically all the kind of top Italian ex-goalkeeping pundits talking him up all the time, I would probably rather go with that guy. But the issue really is, what you're talking about. But then, what the hell do you do for the first half of the season? Because it could end up like last season, where we essentially sacrificed so many points by the transition to Sarri ball and the transition to the squad learning and so on. And then it started to work in the second half of the season. But now it feels like, okay, let's continue that and have a proper top four push this year. But if you go into the season with Pepe Reina as your number one and no particular idea of who's the number two is even going to be, I think you end up losing points that way. Like one way or another, there'll be like a mistake or there'll be a lack of communication or something will happen. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on this. I'm not really sure how I want it to play out.
I don't think Vicario will cost that much, honestly. I
No.
think Lazio is convinced that they can pay him less than 10 million euros. Otherwise, I agree with you. It doesn't make that much sense, even though Vicario, he's 25 and already proved to be Serie A ready. Kaneseki, you cannot be sure. Yes, they talk to him about him very high, a lot of goalkeepers, etc., but you never know his impact. So, yeah, that's a big question mark. And again, it should have been solved already because Monday we are going. Well, Lazio players are going to Alonso. Well, not a lot of them because all the national players will skip probably the first week or so. So that's another problem. To finish off the transfer market, what about central defenders? I mean, I think all last season proved that our defense has been awful. Luis Felipe is going away. Acerbi doesn't want to stay. It looks like we're going to start with Patrick. Patrick is going to be a starting central defender. At the moment, I think it's Kamenovic Patrick, right?
Well, at the moment, it's still Acerbi Patrick, really, because Acerbi's still here. There's still no sign of the club really signing him. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just so clearly the biggest issue. It's so obvious that that's the big problem, and the Romagnoli stuff is really frustrating. You know, that should be an open goal. Really, it should be a lot easier than they're making it. And obviously, I'm not in the room. I don't know exactly what's going on here and what the problem is. But if it is down to, you know, a couple of 100,000 or whatever they're saying, you know, 3 million versus 2.6 million a year, I mean, just find the compromise. It's crazy that it's not possible. I'm still not totally convinced that Romagnoli is suited to Sarri's football is necessarily going to be an incredible signing, but I think on a free transfer, Lazio Sporting player, tons of Serie A experience. I think it makes a lot of sense to bring him in on those conditions. And beyond that, you know, this guy Gila from Real Madrid just seems like a bit of a gamble to me. I mean, yeah, again, very young, 21, but he's played 2 games in La Liga in his career, and you're kind of talking about almost the defensive version of Luca Romero or something, where you just have no real idea what to expect from the guy.
It looks like he should be the subs. Patrick should be the starter, and he should be the second option. Which I don't know what scares me more. I mean, Patrick is officially the central defender starter of next year for Lazio.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's crazy, and I just think we can't expect improvements unless that is sorted. We really can. No matter how good the signings are on the wing or in midfield, we cannot expect to have a better season next season if this goalkeeper situation is unresolved and there are no new centre backs coming in. I mean, I'm sure they'll get someone eventually, but the problem is as well, like you mentioned right at the start, the importance of getting these guys in time to do pre-season and in time to do these training sessions, especially with a coach like Sarri, and understand. And you know, how many players have we heard talk about this now? Like, oh, it was difficult at the start as we tried to adapt and we learned his methods. Well, it's the same for every new signing coming in, and it's more important than ever, really, that they're quick about these things. I think as well, even if they manage to sign 2 centre backs, if they do it on deadline day, and we're already 3 weeks into the season by then, remember, then yeah, I don't know.
I think there is Lazio Inter before the deadline. So if we sign the players after that, I mean, that could be a big issue, especially because the deadline day is obviously the 1st of September. The 4th, I think there is a Serie A match, and then the Europe League starts. So basically, he comes and has no day to train. So that's going to be very complicated. And moving to the fixture, Alistair, first match of the season, 14th of August, Lazio Bologna, 6:30. I mean, it's gonna be so hot. It's gonna be a nightmare. And I was noticing yesterday because the Serie A released the dates and the hours. Lazio is gonna play 3 of the first 5 match of the season at 6:30 in August in Rome. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be terrible.
And I feel like we could probably do a separate podcast just talking about how hot it's been recently.
Oh my!
But to put it in context, I mean, they are recording record temperatures at the moment for June. And it's been touching 40 degrees, humid like anything. I mean, I was playing football last night actually at 8 o'clock at night, and I could barely move. Yes, I'm not a professional athlete, but like it's not pleasant. And you imagine that time in August when it's supposed to be even hotter, really, isn't it? I mean, generally it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, not great. I just assumed because they're starting early that all the games would be 8:45 games. But it's the TV stuff, isn't it? As
Yeah.
always, the money speaks loudest, and they don't really look after the players.
And Lazio is very lucky and had pretty much 3 out of 5 matches at 6:30. So that's going to be really a problem going forward. And again, as I was mentioning before, Alistair, there's the Europe League that starts, and last year Europe League started later and finished half December. This year, Europe League will start first week of September and will finish half November. So it will be basically in 1 month time, 1.5 month time, when last year was around 3. So it's going to be really compressed. The days, the weekdays is going to be Serie A. There's going to be, I think, 3 matches of Serie A during the week as well. So pretty much when there's not going to be Europe League, there's going to be Serie A matches. So very, very complicated season this, especially in the first half, because basically it's divided in two. The first half very compressed. Then on February, when the season starts again, it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. But it's going to end in June, where it's going to become again very hot.
Yeah, I do wonder, and maybe this is opening too big a discussion at the end of our podcast time, but I do wonder if this will be the year where finally players actually take a stand against the way that the game's being run, because there have been individuals who have come out to complain about what's being asked of them from time to time, especially around COVID and the way that the calendar has been compressed to make sure every single fixture is being done. This ridiculous international break at the end of like a 60-game season for a lot of players. They're then playing 4 international games in 10 days to get Nations League done. And now this crazy situation where they're being asked to play in, well, it'd be like mid 30-degree heat, probably 3 games a week, World Cup in Qatar and all the traveling involved as well, with, like you say, the Europa League being compressed. They're flying all over the place all the time. And I do wonder if FIFA Pro or some organization at some point this season is just going to say, this is just enough's enough. Like, it's out of hand. I don't think it's enjoyable for anyone, though. Never mind the condition of the players and so on. I think the quality of football drops. The Nations League games were awful. Quality of football drops. It becomes so saturated that it's not interesting for fans anymore when it's just relentless. I don't know how you feel about it, but maybe it's too big a discussion, like I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big discussion. One thing I wanted to mention to you: do you think, as someone said, that having Italian players would be, or Scottish as well, would be a big advantage as they won't play the World Cup? Or do you think the break is going to be so long that the form will dip even because they won't be playing for so long.
Yeah, it's the reason our respective countries chose to opt out of this World Cup, wasn't it? Give yourself a nice break. I think that would help, but then again, it's so intense in the build up to the World Cup that who knows what kind of damage can be done in that period. So it's obviously a longer break than usual, but I mean, I think this season is going to be unlike any ever before, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens in, say the Champions League knockout stages in the second half of the season, and the absolute elite players who are involved in all of this, and like the Premier League guys who are playing Premier League games relentlessly, 2 domestic cup competitions, Champions League games, going off to the World Cup, and the elite guys will be getting far into the World Cup, coming back into the 2 cup competition. I mean, it's just. I do wonder if it's just going to throw up a few surprises this season, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, at least for Lazio, a club like Lazio, we're not going to lose a lot of players for the World Cup. So maybe they can take a rest and get their energy back a little bit. Apart from Patrick, he'll be off with the Spain squad, but the rest can stay.
And Reina, you forgot Reina. Reina is going definitely. Before we wrap it up, Alice, we need to talk about something very important, and it's not your holidays. We have to talk about the stadium, because while you were on break, Lotito, talk about the stadium. There has been rumors about the Stadio Flaminio, and that was really important, because before the mayor said, well, Lazio honestly didn't talk to us about the stadium, and then the week later in an interview, Lotito said, yeah, we are interested in the Flaminio, but we have to do our research. We asked three things, to the mayor and to the Nevi family, that is the architect who built the stadium. I don't know if it's their property or they have some rights on it. But anyway, what Lotito asked is, we need to build a stadium about 40,000 people. That's the minimum, I think. I think it would be the right amount of fans, just to be sure that, when you have a big match, you can fill it up and you don't have to keep fans out of it. Now, the Stadio Flaminio, we did a video going there and watch it. There's not a roof. And Lotito said, we need a roof as well. There were rumors that this wasn't possible, but that's mandatory. So that's another, for UEFA, it's mandatory. And the third thing is garage, because Lotito wants the option for fans to go there by car and park down the stadium. So these are the 3 conditions Lazio asked. Without those, we can not talk about the stadium. The thing is, Lazio is going to prepare a project, at least this is what Lotito said, and present it in 1 month time, and then Lazio and Rome mayor are going to go from there. I think it's very interesting and very important. The Stadio Flaminio, if people are not aware, it's at the center of Rome. So for tourists, that would be great, especially if you can build restaurants, shops there. It can really be open 7 days a week. So that would be amazing. That's my point of view, Alistair.
Absolutely. I've always loved the idea of using the Flaminio if it's possible. I think that Lotito is absolutely right to insist on doing it on his terms and on Lazio's terms, because it has to be a modern stadium. You can't take this on and leave it because it's architecturally valuable. I mean, without a roof is absolutely crazy. I mean, obviously you need a roof, and you need it to be the right size, which is a lot bigger than it currently is. I think at the moment it holds 20,000, something like that. So we're talking about, doubling the capacity of the existing place and essentially kind of rebuilding what you see there now. But it would be an amazing spot for a stadium. It'd be an amazing thing to happen. I think it's probably worth mentioning as well that the mayor changed his last year, wasn't it? Yes. And when the previous one, Raji, was in charge, there was a lot of talk about these things happening as well, but nothing ever obviously got going. So I don't know. You'll have much stronger opinions than I do about the current mayor of Rome, but do you think there's a chance that having him in charge now will help these things to happen and enable Rome to start allowing or encouraging these kind of projects to take place?
Well, I think if he's smart enough, it would be a huge advantage even for Rome, right? Because we saw it. We did a video. Flaminio is really collapsing, so it could be really dangerous, and this will cost a lot of money to Rome. So there's one reason why the mayor of Rome should push and help Lazio building the stadium. The second point, obviously, is if the mayor allows Lazio and Roma to build the stadium, well, that would be a boost for the economy, right? Because if Lazio build a stadium, doing restaurants, shops, etc., that would mean more jobs for everybody here in Rome. Another attraction, especially at the beginning. Go and watch the stadium, go there to eat, buy things, etc. So there are different reasons why it would be an advantage for the mayor of Rome to do it. Obviously, you know it as you've been living in Rome for a couple of years. Everything here is more complicated than in England. So building a new stadium is very difficult. Getting all the license in place is very complicated, and so on. But I mean, it would be a huge boost, not only for the clubs, but for the city as well. So if the mayor is smart enough, he will help Lazio and Roma doing the stadium, especially Lazio that want to do the stadium in the city center and in a place that is really falling apart. I mean, Stadio Flaminio 30 years ago was an amazing stadium. I remember going there watching Lodigiani with the third team of Rome, and it was amazing. So, you know, there should be interest of doing that.
Yeah, it seems obvious because, yeah, like you say, you're not tearing down something existing that's beloved by the local people, or you're not tearing down another existing business, or you're not kicking out an existing team. You're actually building this from nothing. You're replacing the current situation is just nothing. It's basically an abandoned stadium. But yeah, I mean, obviously we did this podcast about it not that long ago, so I think everything we said is pretty much still relevant. So we can always put out a link about that as well if people are interested in finding out more about the Flaminio.
Yes, and to wrap it up, let's not forget that the 4th of July, Lazio is presenting the new shirt. When is it? The 2nd or the 3rd? I don't remember.
It's on Monday, isn't it? So
Okay.
the 3rd, I think.
The 4th. So Lazio is presenting the two shirt, the home and away. Mizuno finally will present the shirt. If you go online, you will see so many examples, so many prototype, etc., of the new Lazio shirt. Obviously, none of them will be as the one they're going to announce, but it's going to be interesting, Alistair. It's nice to see Lazio doing something different for once. And I mean, I don't remember Lazio presenting the shirt so early, so that's another good point, valid point.
And actually putting on a big event in the center of Rome as well. There's going to be a presentation at Piazza del Popolo. There's going to be celebrities and things going on. So yeah, it's quite cool. I just can't really remember anything like this happening apart from when they maybe opened the shop in the center. They put on an event for that. But yeah, so that'd be good. And I'm sure everyone will be exactly on the same page about a new shirt as they always are.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of complaint as normal, as usual. Season tickets as well. They're out, finally. I mean, it took like 2 months to get it out, but they're out. So, I mean, if you want to get your season tickets for Lazio, you can do it online now, vivaticket.it, if you want to subscribe. So, I think we're going to be back next week, Alistair, right? Or you're leaving again?
Well, apparently I'm on holiday at the moment and have been for a month. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be on holiday.
Who knows? You're always on holiday. Well, guys, thanks again for listening. Remember, you can subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes. Please rate and review on iTunes. Follow us on YouTube, on Twitch, and we'll be back after Alice's holiday. Bye, guys.